All right, thanks everyone for your patience. We will start with our pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, here's your crime stats since your last meeting. 7600 block of Fondale Avenue. You had a larceny parts from auto. License plates were stolen. 500 block Timothy Avenue. Larceny parts from auto. Stolen license plates. 7700 block Westmere Road. You had a larceny other. The larceny occurred during a domestic assault, which was cleared by arrest. Officers on scene didn't take gas. 500 block Timothy Avenue. You had an attempt burglary to a residence. The suspect was known to the victim as his daughter's ex-boyfriend. That was cleared by arrest. 600 block North Shore Road, burglary to a residence. Suspect was known. Investigation was ongoing. 500 block Timothy Avenue, you had robbery to an individual, which was also cleared by arrest. A lot of the narrative on that is not for public release. It has to do with some of the people that are involved in the investigation. But it was cleared by arrest. The individual was identified and charged and picked up.
Last one. Usually let's go to the water store license plates, and that's what we're doing. This is just like the city, right?
Yeah, I haven't had a single Cadillac converter theft. It's just license plates. So, which is odd with all the license plates here.
Some range, so we'll call it probably pull that further.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, even out with code enforcement, has been tagging a lot of vehicles, so they be trying to, get some plates on it so it doesn't attract attention, but eventually it's going to be difficult.
Do you know how the speed cameras are working in the school zones?
They're only during the hours that the lights are flashing, and you have 10 miles an hour, I call it race speed, before you issue the citation.
But do you know if they're working?
They're working.
I mean, repeatedly.
Yeah, there's tickets coming in.
No good time.
Yeah.
Just enough, sir.
It was a burglary to a residence. Suspect was known. The victim's daughter and the suspect have a child in common. So it doesn't say whether or not the victim decided to prosecute. Pretty much anything that would happen except for the license plates, the person was known and either was charged or was going to be charged. Right, Timothy Avenue and Westmere Road is one of the locations that we're looking at getting like a lot of time cases. Hasn't been decided yet, but that's the one I put in a couple of months ago.
Is that,
Martin.
apartments down there? Or?
Yeah, it's
Because all the residences apartments.
yeah, it's that large apartment complexes. They've updated the lighting and things like that, but right there, as you know, right there, Westmere and Timothy's a good spot for me.
I think that's the best they ever did. When the new management took over, and they were updating the exterior, just putting lights on each one of those units.
If you haven't seen it, it's lit up like a football field. Yeah, but I mean, from
Helps.
yeah, it helps a lot. So like, when I have other apartment complexes or whatnot that have issues, I usually tell them to drive by there at night and get a feel for it. Like, there are a lot of the stuff that's happening is happening during the day. So those lights are helping.
excited to welcome Telly and Robbie here. You can see this in their shirts. They are with Metronet. If you don't know about Metronet, you should. You're a private optic. Like Adjournment speak. Some people will call have Metronet service.
We'll run you out of here.
Yeah, we'll turn over to you guys if you want to come up and tell us what to expect.
You want us up that way? That'll work too?
Yeah. Okay.
If you all wonder about his name, tell him you raise me up to tell it to
So, yeah. He stole my thunder already.
Oh, I saw.
He's a good actor. Very good actor. He walls Good evening. I'm Telly Whitfield. Yes, named after Telly Savalas. Do the math, you can kind of figure out my age. Kojak was around when my mom was pregnant. I'm actually born and raised in Virginia Beach. So I'm local. I first want to thank Vice Mayor Thomas Scott for the invitation. It's interesting because I spent 25 years in local government. I worked in 2 cities in the 757, but not really. I actually worked in the city manager's office in Newport News. I worked in my hometown of Virginia Beach, as well as 4 other places. So I'm really excited about being here and the investment that Metronet is doing here in my hometown. For those who don't know about Metronet, and it says that I'm a featured speaker, but I ain't gonna talk. But for those who don't know about Metronet, we are the largest privately owned fiber to the premise fiber provider in the country. We're in 18 states now. We're in about 260 communities. And what's really amazing about the growth of this business is that over the last 3 years, we have made more construction than over the first 20 years. So we're tremendously growing all across the country. Here in Virginia, Norfolk is actually our first place. I actually work in government affairs, so I actually have the Southeast region, which includes Virginia, North Carolina, which we have 5 markets. I'll say a little bit about that later. All the way down to Florida, where we have, like 8 or so markets in Florida, and we continue. This particular market is really unique because we're about 60,000 passes a month completion. And that's 60,000 passes, and when we say passes, that means fiber availability for a household, residential household, an institution, or business. 60,000 passes is actually a very big deal for us. 60,000 passes is actually a great number for me because I previously was the assistant city manager in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's when Metronet stole me. And that actual build was about 60,000 passes. We're about 90% complete with that build now. And here in Norfolk, we're about 35% complete. So we're really making good progress. So do the math, we're about 20,000 passes have already been released, which means available for service. And I know we do have someone amongst your membership, at least one person, who might not want to be recognized, but I'm looking over there, who has the service and said they're delighted with the service. I'm not a salesperson, but Black Fiber is fiber's fast. Black Fiber because we have redundancy. Black Fiber because it's the next level of generation of quality of life amenity, of economic development, of telemed, and of education. The flip side of what my household is my wife is an educator, public school educator, about to retire. Yes. A public school educator, and one of the things that she has been doing for the last 15 years is doing instructional technology, curriculum development using technology. So there's this thing called the pandemic that happened a couple years back that really transformed how we do education. But what we realized is access is still a challenge, right? So what we're trying to do here in Norfolk is to provide as best as possible ubiquitous service, which means capture as many folks as we can build to have access to high-speed broadband. And when we say high-speed broadband, we're talking about up to, what are we offering here in this? We're up to the 1 gig here. 1 gig symmetrical service, that means download and upload at the same speed. So if you have the other legacy providers that says that you can get 100, 200 for download, you're probably only getting 20 meg for upload. That's why you get the little circle of that. Right. That doesn't happen with Metronet. So I just wanted to give the brief introduction. I think it's really important to understand that I'm passionate about this market in particular. I'm passionate for multiple reasons. Obviously, I'm from here. My kid is actually a student athlete at Norfolk State. So this is real for me. I own property in the area. This is real for me. This is home, right? So in addition to Norfolk, which I know is preeminent for you guys, we're also attempting to build more. So hopefully in the next year or so, we can announce that we're going into Virginia Beach. I'm working that pretty hard, as well as Chesapeake. So we're really excited about what Metronet can do, not only for individuals, but for communities. And our whole idea of fiber is really to connect people faster. But I'm not going to talk that much. As I said, Robbie Tebow is actually the project director for the Norfolk build. So when you see the construction going on, he's the guy that's responsible for it. What I actually do is I really work with the municipality to make sure that, one, we have a safe, efficient production process. That means we're doing things through the permitting process. I think we had a conversation on the side earlier about utility locates. Some folks might see some tagging as we go through the neighborhood right now. You see the flags. That's an important thing, very important. As well as when we do have to go through the poles. So just a quick, how does fiber get to your house? I know that was a question. We follow power. So if you have underground power, typically we're going to do underground construction. If your power comes from aerial, we'll follow the poles as well. That's pretty simplistic, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Robbie up, because I know you guys have a lot of questions instead of me just talking. Feel free to ask some questions to the two of us. Robbie's the technical guy. He's a young fellow, but he has 20, 30, 40 years in the telecommunications business. He knows how this stuff works. But most importantly, we want to make sure that the build is safe. We are as non-intrusive as possible. Now, here's where I look to the elected official. Here's where I look to the vice mayor. We would all love to close our eyes and say, poof, we have this major fiber infrastructure all across the city. I did capital projects when I worked in local government all the time. I would have loved, if money wasn't an object, just to say, yes, we're going to totally rebuild our sewer system. Or we're going to have, new sidewalks come and connect all of the neighborhoods. But there's this thing called money, and it's limited. So because of that, obviously, we do capital projects through a budgeting process. That's an incremental process, right? What we're able to do, because we're privately funded, we obviously work with the municipality, work with the city to get our permits, our right-of-way permits, so that we have a right to be in that right-of-way. And then we're working all across the city, all at the same time. So it's really a big build. The last time something at this magnitude happened was probably 35, 40 years ago when cable started to come out. So we know it just by nature, it's a huge construction project, but we really try to be as light as possible and not impact livability. That being said, we know that there's traffic mitigation, traffic control things that have to happen. And unfortunately, and Robbie is really good at this one, every now and then there might be a utility strike. That's the reality. That's construction. But we use all the industry standard construction practices, and we've been very responsive, and we've actually done very good in Norfolk with our utility strikes. So with that being said, Robbie Tebow, and if you guys have any questions, just shoot. I know you have us allocated for 15 to 20 minutes, but
We'll see how many they got.
we're here.
All the blue and the green, blue and orange things, that's y'all? You're in my neighborhood, you're in my house. How do you get from there to the, what do you say, 5 pole? Or would we?
It depends on 124, I don't know if you guys have seen the map yet, but we're running from pole all the way down to the water. So from the waters, you got an LCP 124, 125, 126.
And the LCP is just how we break down neighborhoods.
Basically a neighborhood, you know, but 129 through 126 are all underground. 124 and 125 are a mix. Some folks that were denied, so we'll have to go underground development. And 111 and 112, which are further south down Grandview, are a mix as well.
So when you get from that to the house, is there a box on the outside of the house or something? That's where your local technician will be in there to hook up and set up?
That'll be just a connection point, and then it'll go directly into your house with your modem router.
So I see those tubes coming up out of the ground, so I guess you're wiring into those tubes.
Yeah.
But our electrical is above ground.
Right, so if there's not enough room for me to get on that pole, I'll have to go on.
Oh, I see. And I know
We
you're
have
not
to
marketing,
permit.
I know neither one of you are marketing, but I've had a couple of times that someone has said, marketing, that if I'm interested, to let them know, and then we get back to me, and I've got a price, and then we get it back. And that's been at least 6 months.
I will get your name tonight, and I'll make sure. that
Because they
you
were at
call
my
tomorrow.
corner today, we saw them.
Yes, and I appreciate that candor. That's the other thing that I do is I do some free hours, right? So there is a process. Sometimes the process doesn't fulfill itself, right? Let me take a step back. In this area, I think Robbie is going to, the construction schedule maintains where it is now, weather permitting, et cetera, et cetera. You're looking at being out of this general vicinity by summer in the Metro.
So if you're being out of this general vicinity means ready to go.
Yes, so what we do is, he mentioned the word LCP, and so that's kind of a 500 or so households, let's say. So once he's actually done all the construction of it, and then we do the testing, then we actually light that up. So what we're not doing is waiting to a vast majority of half the city is prepared, then we actually offer service. So right now, we have over 20,000 passes that have been released. And I can say this, it's live, right? So our penetration rates are doing much better. As Robbie builds, our penetration rate goes up. This is a good thing. So that I'll say that for the live audience.
And then we get indexed by the sales staff and the media, the letters, cards and all that stuff like that.
Right. So I'm glad you mentioned that because that's where I was going to go. How many people first heard of Metronet because they got a mail?
I got a phone call.
About 50%.
I got
Okay.
a phone call saying they were coming.
That's a good thing, okay? So our typical process would be this. Again, the behind the scenes piece that Robbie and I are working out with our right of way permits and our easements, and the pole attachment agreements that we have to have. We can't just jump on the pole at the minute, they'll tear that down. And so once we work through all that piece, once he's prepared to work in an LCP in the neighborhood, we'll actually about 45 days in advance, there should be a mailing that comes out. First mailing is a letter. Now, if you're like me, my teenagers' chore is to check the mail. Right. And so I know a lot of folks don't really read the mail as much as they do, have in the past. But the first thing is a mailing that comes out that says, hey, we're Metronet. We want to introduce ourselves and then let you know that we have been working with the city of Norfolk and have permission to be in the right of way to do a fiber construction. Now I want to emphasize the right of way, meaning that all the crews that Robbie has shouldn't be all up in your yard. Okay? I know from my almost 30 years of working in local government, there's a lot of confusion about what a right of way is. It's the easiest when there's a sidewalk.
Yeah.
But if you have a mailbox, it's also easy to kind of determine inside that mailbox is where the right of way is. So that's where all your utilities typically are. It's not really easy. So that's where actually the work is being done. This great gentleman right here also said one thing about the installations. we're doing the constructions, when you do call for an installation, there'll be a crew that actually comes, and then that will go into your yard. Right, obviously, that's what you're doing. So that first letter comes out and just says, here's where we are. We also give a number that's really a number to talk about the construction process. If you are interested in a pre-sale, we'll also direct you to that pre-sale. The next thing that will come out, roughly about 2 weeks or so before his crews are ready to rock, will be a postcard. Postcard, you're doing a door tag. Yep. Right.
Multiple.
So postcard, and then like a week before, he's either gonna do a door tag, not God himself, but a door tag, and then you'll see yard darts as well. That says, you'll start seeing the actual locates that are out there. And they'll say, hey, Metronet is actually not only just in your area, but we're now on your street. We're about ready to rock. You're also doing the real estate signs too, for egress. Okay. So outside of the neighborhood, if you're at like right before you get to a major thoroughfare and going into a neighborhood, you might see a real estate sign that says Metronet will be in your area. Again, we want to make sure that we get some notice. That being said, and I have gotten calls here in Norfolk that says no one has notified me that Metronet is someone's in my yard. I find it interesting that that's the case when no one else in your street has said that. But it's us, we know. But we still handle that, and we try to handle that with white glove services. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say that we did the research. I live in Whitfield Shores, and we have made the switch over to Metronet. And for some of you guys in here, we asked about the parent control package that you guys have because we want little kids. And there is a very suitable package to what you have with our current internet provider. So the parental controls are there, the ability, if you want to do like very sensitive filtering on your stuff, you can get that for an extra fee. But the price difference is substantial. It's substantial. So.
The high quality service.
And we haven't had it installed yet.
Okay.
So we're working on the installation right now.
Okay.
But we spent a lot of time on the phone with one of your agents and, you know, the parent controls and things like that. We have a landline also, and still with all of those services, the price difference is pretty substantial. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I appreciate that statement. And I didn't mention, I mean, I always focus on the internet piece, but we also provide phone service. And then we also provide streaming opportunities with YouTube TV and Netflix. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're looking at for gig service, which you can't get with Cox, and I want to say $80 on that, $89 on it, and that's with taxes, something like that. It's under $100.
How many paying? $49 a year. That's the special they have.
Right.
Right now, this is doing. And they said it'll go up $2 a year. No. And I got so much free because I recommend it.
So there, and I appreciate you saying that as well, because there are tiers based off of what, you know, your household. I have, as I said, I have a teenager at home, I have a college kid who comes home, they like to do the streaming things. I have a gig service, I work from home as well as travel, but honestly, a lot of households don't need that, unless they're, and so based off of what you currently have with the providers that are in the market, and what we provide at 100 or 500 to a gig, and yes, sir.
How do you set this up, on packages like Cox Cable, we have a basic package,
Right.
how much are they?
Right. So what I can do, because I can go kind of on and on and on. I'm not the salesperson, but I can pull something up so I can show you directly. And if people are interested, they can give me a couple minutes. I'll pull up I'll be able to do that while I'm answering that issue. Yes, sir.
So, once you have a gig into the house, and I need an inside light, does that come with the package, or do I have to buy $5 to match?
It comes with it. And it's a mesh router, so it kind of expands and covers the entire area where you would need some people say where they would need an extender, they don't. But, you know, it's got kind of like an extender mesh in it, so it kind of expands a little bit further there.
And that comes with the factory fitted on.
Right.
So your technician would come in and know the size of our house and where it comes in and where it has all the have to be.
Right.
And be able to
You can put it,
recommend.
you know, pretty much anywhere you want in your house. I've got mine set up at the back of my house so I can reach my garage. My garage is about 20 feet away from my house.
Oh, so when they come and bring it into your house,
Right.
they could bring it into the middle of your house and then you wouldn't have to do it.
Right, you can put it anywhere you want.
I think I've heard this from other people too. When you do bury the fire, you guys don't go to that, you go like,
We have to go, remember to, well, the drop lines, you know, we're 6 inches on the ground. Like we gotta protect our main lines.
You don't have a website to add each meter or all
Yes, we do.
whatever, and I can't access that anymore, I can't find it anymore. And a lot of people ask, when are they going to the neighborhood, and that was very helpful.
Yes.
Can you tell me?
So yes, we did, sir, have that. And so we realized that other folks it was very useful for other folks, it was also useful for our competitors as well. And so, we decided to make a strategic decision and remove that. That being said, with our partners, like our elected officials in our markets, we'll be more than happy to share that information with you, to see where we are. I should say this, we do have, in most of our markets, we have, Robbie stays in constant contact with the city, like everything.
He runs this city.
Including that each morning, morning or afternoon, let me say that.
Street sheet walk one.
So each morning he'll send out a street sheet so that the city actually knows we were at. So again, we want to be in constant contact. But we also do provide monthly reports back out to the city so we can see not only production, but I like to say, we want to say we're transparent. I like to say we're honest as well. Because we'll say, yes, in this market we had 3 incidental contacts with another utility. And this is what we
That happens at a monthly roundtable meeting. We have one second Thursday of every month, free to locators, anybody, anybody thinks. It's a virtual meeting. We have it, our own conference table, we virtual, hang out.
So, with our current provider, what are the speeds that we are paying for? They will always match the speeds that we're getting. Are you guys seeing, what kind of speeds are you seeing for your base?
Our speeds will be here and they'll never drop.
Okay.
So what's happening with your coax is, everybody gets over around 5 o'clock and all of a sudden you start to see everything slow down because everybody's jumping on and it's not gonna drop. Fiber just stays. You can carry, if you're looking at it as a garden hose, there's so much bits of information that can go through fiber versus coax. It's astounding.
And there's no picture so it doesn't cut off a third of a second to that button.
No.
I get a lot of those.
So one of the things that this first piece that Robbie builds, this is kind of, I'm a big baseball person, so this is inside baseball. But when Robbie builds a market, he's going to build the rings. And the rings are really important because they make the connections to the rings that help us in the neighborhood. So the rings are also important because it helps with redundancy. So that if there is an unfortunate breakage, I don't know how that would happen, but there's a breakage on one side, you can look at that the other side.
City could do, or contract, you could.
Yeah,
something up,
yeah,
no
that
problem,
happens. I
man.
mean,
There-
There's a lot of stuff in the ground.
And, you know, this is a, you know, Norfolk being the great city that it is an older community. It has, you know, older infrastructure. So as the city is also doing capital projects as well and, you know, maintaining and enhancing the infrastructure, you know, there's only so much, you know, that's literally in that right away. Yeah, I've been in communities where stuff is crumbling. Any other questions? Great questions. So my two do outs from this. One is I'm gonna leave you my card. Give me a call. Let me get your number because I'm actually flying to tomorrow. So I'll get you in touch with the salesperson. I actually want to get you in touch with the sales manager. Take care of it.
What about to you guys? I would know, should I send the emails back to them? or-
Gotcha. Okay. We'll take care of that in the next 24 hours. And then for you, I'm gonna make sure that I can get you some numbers as well. Anything else, Commissioner? Again, we're really excited. I said 60,000. This is one of the larger markets that we have in the southeast. Norfolk, Fayetteville, the greater Fayetteville market's about 100,000 passes. Lexington, Kentucky is about 120,000 passes. That's already been complete.
I think Norfolk is that right, because we excluded all the MUs.
Right.
You know, like, once we get online and start selling the those, I mean,
What's it in the,
multi-born unit.
So, apartments. And if they're private properties, so if they're private properties, what we have is an agreement with the city to do public right of way. So in private developments, we actually have to do a separate utility access agreement to get grants to do that property. So that's,
You mentioned Lafayette Shores.
Lafayette Shores, yeah.
We have to do a private agreement with them.
Absolutely.
What about the military bases? Is that a separate entity all comes to itself?
It's definitely something.
I mean, I know bases, but your company, you have to go through a red tape in order
We
to.
have a design for it, but we haven't,
And it's again, I came from Fayetteville, North Carolina, so Fort Bragg. It's interesting.
Change it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then back and forth.
It's like facility,
So that's an excellent question. So typically when we work with municipalities, we also make sure that they're providing service if they're interested. So when you have campuses in various places, a lot of times we will make sure that we put the network in.
and libraries? Because I know a lot of people use a library.
We have a separate government side as well that kind of deals with those agreements. But that's not, I just heard Cumberland County Schools in North Carolina, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, so that's something that we absolutely do. Again, if we can build it, if we can sell it,
Do you have a contract with non-public schools?
we do not. We actually did, it's my understanding we bid on that contract.
Okay.
And we'll probably be bidding. There is a local institution doing that. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. We'll stream the next meeting.
If anybody signs on, you should get the referral.
There is a referral.
Okay.
There is a referral.
Yes, there is a referral. 3 years.
It's actually a very nice referral.
Sorry, you missed it. You mentioned that yet?
Not yet. The rep came to my house, he was very persuasive.
All right, well, I'll turn it over to
Excuse me, sir.
Dr. Gabriel here, who talks about.
It has, they let me out of the hospital now.
Seen a long time.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's nice to see everyone here today. Thanks for coming, especially on such a gorgeous day. I have lots of things to talk to you all about. Probably the most important thing is what we're going to be able to do collectively in the future, because there are a lot of big decisions that are going to be coming down. What I will say is that we are wrapping up our school year. Kids are getting ready to go into SOL testing, which is high stakes testing for them. Teachers are kind of on edge. The kids are getting ready. And so whatever you can do to kind of make their days a little bit better, go easy on them. We just passed our budget. It's now over to the city. Our operating budget is about $450 million. The biggest part of our budget this year is salary compensation for our teachers, because we are in an incredible teacher shortage nationwide. We are all fishing from the same small pond, and whatever we can do to make ourselves competitive is what our superintendent of the curriculum has done. So now Norfolk Public Schools is in complete alignment with the national average for teacher starting teacher salary, which is at about $50,000. We are also doing lots of bonuses for teachers who we can retain to stay on. So there's retention bonuses. There's referral bonuses. There's a tiered process for if you've been in the system for a certain number of years. One thing that I have to just give lots and lots of kudos to our superintendent for is she has kind of right-sized what we call the step process, because for a long period of time before I came onto the board, which now is almost 12 years, I cannot believe it, there was a freeze on teacher salary increases. So every year they would get a little COLA increase, but they would never get compensation for their years of service. Dr. Bertone has been able to really accelerate that these past 4 years that she's been our person at the helm, and now I can confidently say that our teachers who are seasoned and tenured are getting the due pay that they deserve. I just talked to Councilman Smeagol the other night, and he's like, finally, we're getting some recognition for the years of service. The problem is that because we are raising the starting salary of teachers, it's hard when you're at that mid-level to kind of make sure that everybody who has had all the years of service is still staying up. So it's a balance. I will say that our benefits package is still very excellent. And this year, no teacher or employee, which includes our support staff, had any of their health insurance premiums raised. So that's a big deal for us. So that's where the majority of our budget was put towards for this year, because if you don't have a highly qualified person in front of your kids, you're not going to make a big difference academically. And that's where we're seeing things. There's some other little modifications that she's done in the budget, some very selective programs that are working at some of our schools that are not performing at the rate that we would like. And so they're going to be putting in what we call a community of schools model to schools like Jaycox and Booker T, that they're going to bring a whole lot of community partners in, put some additional staff in there for tutoring and some year-round programs, and hopefully that will help with the academic portion of it. We are really trying very hard to be as welcoming and friendly to our parents as possible, because we cannot do it alone. We need parental involvement. And so that's what a lot of the focus is going to be for some of these programs. So if you have additional questions about the budget, I'm very happy to answer them. But what I'm really wanting to get your input on is we had a presentation from a group that we have partnered with called Cooperative Strategies. They're not called Wolfert. But they're the ones who were really talking to us about redesigning our infrastructure with all of the schools that we have. MPS basically has 50 buildings that it takes care of. We have a declining enrollment. When I started with MPS, we had close to, I would say, 45,000 students. We're at 29,000 now. So we're dropping tremendously. And again, I will say that you're gonna see drops all around our area, but we're really feeling it. We cannot continue to operate 50 buildings with a declining enrollment and expect every building to get all the resources that it needs. And so we have to make some tough decisions. And I don't know if any of you guys watched our most recent school board meeting, but I was definitely, when we had the presentation from our partners, the folks that we hired, they basically told us that they are looking at kind of a holistic approach to how they want to redesign all of the public school system. They're looking at, how can we operate? Do we need to operate with 5 high schools? Do we need all of our middle schools? Do we want K-8 models? Do we want to do models in other school divisions where we go K through 6 and then 7 through 12? So they're looking at all of that. And basically what they told us was that they're looking at lots of information. They're going to get information out to the community. They want to put a community work group back together, and that's gonna take around December. And then after that is when they're gonna come back to the board. We're talking next year with a plan as to what the proposal is going to be. And this is going to be a big proposal. And while I completely support making sure that we measure twice and cut once, I also know that time is of the essence for our kids and our teachers. And so I did ask them if there's any way that we can speed up this process a little bit to let's do that. Our school division is very sensitive to the feelings of our families and the communities, and a lot of communities feel when it hits them that their school might be on the chopping block for consolidation or rezoning. They get very attached and vocal, and they come and they speak their mind, which they're totally entitled to do so. But what we want to do is make sure that we take a very proactive approach with the communication efforts and let them know why we're doing what they're doing, because we cannot continue to operate right now at the level that we're operating. The kids are not going to get the benefit of it, and our staff, we're going to continue to lose staff, and we can't do that. So we have to close schools. We have to think big picture here, and I have some thoughts that I want to share with you guys that have not necessarily been shared with a lot of folks, but I want to go ahead and plant some seeds with you tonight because this has direct impact with you all, and I'd love to get your feedback on it. So right now, the school board did take action on Warren High School. Warren High School is going to be built as a brand new building. The apartment, what we know now of as Warren High School is going to be renovated into an apartment complex. So that was kind of like I'm going to call it a win-win. The kids get a new building, the building gets preserved, the auditorium gets completely preserved and is accessible to the entire community. So that is very nice. We're never going to see another building like that built again, ever. We would never be able to get the tax credits from it as a public school building. But the builders who are going to do it will be able to, and I'm hoping that we're all going to come together and, again, be a win-win for our community. But I'm going to put some numbers out for you guys. Warren High School right now currently sits on the smallest acreage of any of our 5 high schools. We have Granby, we have Lake Taylor, we have Morgan, and we have Whitfield. Maury is 21 acres. Lake Taylor is 44. given up some very precious property to the company who has bought it, we are going to be losing some acreage for more. My proposal is to take Ghent School, which is a K-8 program, take that building, take that acreage there, relocate that program, because it's an excellent, thriving, high-performing program, and relocate that somewhere else. That somewhere else could potentially be Willard. It could potentially be Suburban Park. Why? Because if we were to take the acreage from Ghent, which is 13 acres, and we marry that with Maury, we would have 34 acres of land. We could potentially put a full tract on the property of Maury. The only other tract that's in the city right now is at Maury High School. And by the way, Maury High School has state division track champions for both cross country and for track and field. And I'm not saying that that's not for what other schools would need, but I'm saying that that gives us more opportunity for our kids, from little kids all the way to big kids, to play and to practice and to compete and to win scholarships. So, that's a thought. Let's come over to Granby, which is near and dear to all of us. I'm a Granby alumni. I gotta take care of Granby, right? You know, can't take care of my rival school. So, anyhow, Granby sits on 25 acres. In plans that we have had with the city, which has already been approved, we had talked about, and I think I talked about this here at meetings before, that Granby Elementary was set to be a newly built school. It was the last of the newly built schools. First was Maury, then it was going to be Whitfield Elementary, then it was going to be Jaycox, and then it was going to be Granby Elementary. Granby Elementary is way down the list. I need you guys to think about something. If we were to take Granby Elementary offline and rezone it for one of our other schools in the area, perhaps a Suburban Park, perhaps a Willard, again, doesn't go to any of those. We could take the acreage of Granby Elementary, which is 9 acres, and combine that with Granby, and that would also be 34 acres. And that space could be used for a practice field, for soccer, for football. It could be green space for the kids, which is what we need for our students. They need places to go out and participate in athletics and sports, because that helps, believe it or not, tremendously with the academics. So that means that Maury then and Granby would both have 34 acres. And we would be getting green space and athletic fields, which would be excellent. Now, that would mean that we would take the funds for what we would use for Granby Elementary and probably redesign a Suburban Park or a Willard to accommodate whatever that the Ghent program, or to accommodate a bigger elementary school for the students who were zoned at Granby Elementary to then go to there. Distance-wise, it fits from a transportation perspective. And so, when I look at the numbers, when I look at the distribution, when I look at everything, I look at what are some things that we can gain, what are some things that we're willing to sacrifice. Neither Willard or Suburban Park would be attractive to either of those two schools unless you do heavy renovations. And Suburban Park really needs to just come on down, okay? If we're going to put a brand new building in. So, those are my thoughts. And we're going to need to have a lot of community input. And if we don't have input from you all who are direct stakeholders in the process, other neighborhoods are going to do what they want. You have to be local.
Let me ask you a question, Bill. Those are your thoughts. Does the rest of the school board feel the same way you do? Are they fighting against you? Or?
This is the first time that I've kind of like really put the proposal out there. I have found that we take a lot of time to make decisions, and sometimes that's not bad, and sometimes it's hard to do that. But I'm looking at our numbers right now. We didn't hear me talk about academics. Academics right now, if we don't right size our division, we are never going to get academically competitive the way that we want. Because we cannot afford to have an elementary school that only has 150 kids with a full-time principal, a full-time assistant principal, a full-time custodian, a full-time reading specialist, and a full-time math specialist. In that one building, we have a Willard, okay, or let's take Granby Elementary, okay, Granby Elementary has, 464 kids, and they have those same staff.
I have a question, kind of a couple of questions. To what do we attribute the decline, the drastic decline in enrollment? Are they going to private schools, homeschool, or is it just that fewer amount of people?
Nationally, the birth rates are down. So that's number one. Number two, there's less families here in Norfolk that are with school-age children. Number three, if anybody is flocking to anywhere, it's not the private school, it's the homeschool. And I can tell you that as a teacher.
Well, that's what I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I've seen so many more homeschooling. But for Norfolk, it's really, there's just less families and the birth rate is down. And so, in order for us to be competitive, because, when people are moving different places, military, job perspective, the first thing they ask is, what is the quality of school? And what are the amenities that you offer? We've got top-notch programs here. We've got an outstanding medical program. We've got the IB program at Granby. We've got lots of specialty elementary programs. Our kids are winning athletic and academic competitions. So it's not for a lack of accolades, but really our academics as a whole, we have a lot of work to do with that.
So then the second half of my question is, can you tell by the population shifts or whatever, which of these schools are losing the most enrollment? I mean, you said something
Yes.
about 150 or so.
Yes. We can definitely tell on a map where the highest amount of kids are, based on their age too, and where we need it. What we have to think about though is transportation, because we have very limited supplies of bus drivers. So if you want to build brand new schools on one side, then you're gonna have to figure out a way to get the kids from one side of the city all the way to the other. The nice thing about where we are right now is we're almost in the center of the city. So it's
For
really,
Granby Elementary.
for Granby, for Granby Elementary, for Willard, for Suburban, you're kind of centrally located. You have just a big picture of the city kind of like right there in the middle, which means that you could service kids all across the city with not a lot of full-time student students. That can be very appealing. And if you look at a lot of studies with urban development, when you build a school that kind of sits in the middle of, I'm going to say, a neighborhood that might be a little bit more poverty versus in a neighborhood that's kind of a little bit more middle class, you have better outcomes versus building a top-notch school in a neighborhood with one versus the other. If you're trying to get a lot of bang for your buck, kind of building it right there at that sweet spot is where you get better outcomes academically and socially.
Not your children are in debt.
So
You
right,
said
yeah.
450 something and
So
Grand
Ghent is, 482.
okay, so those things.
Yeah.
So when I heard you talking about these schools, in my mind, I'm thinking you're gonna move them both. So that both schools get bigger acreage.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be one or the other, both of them.
Ghent would have to go, Granby Elementary would have to go, we would have to relocate it. We would have to redistribute the kids from Granby Elementary, because right now they're zoned for Granby Elementary. We would have to relocate 480 kids.
How many are in Willard and how many are in
So Willard
suburban? Park?
right now has a capacity for 833 kids,
And they have.
and they have 506. So it varies, because Willard is also a Title I school. So Title I means that you don't have to have as many kids in the classroom, and you can have a smaller class size. So all of those details will have to be worked out, but the acreage supports it. The acreage supports it. Willard would need a gym, like a full-blown gym. Willard would need definitely modifications to classroom. So, you know, all of those things are in the works, but if we don't come to the table with ideas, then our group that we work with, which is great, they're gonna come to us with proposals, but, you know, we're the ones who live here. We're the ones who are gonna be experiencing this stuff for the rest of our lives, and for our kids.
When I'm thinking of consolidated schools, I was thinking that might limit the number of long-term subs in certain grade levels and stuff, we could split them up, because, I mean, it's one thing to have a long-term sub working with a team of veteran teachers. It's a completely another thing than a team of mostly long-term subs, and so if you can split that up and provide more equity among the schools of professional teachers versus subs, because I know teachers want to say where they're going to teach, obviously, but at the same time, we need to provide equitable education to all of our elementary schools.
What does the suburban park?
Yeah, so
population look like?
Suburban Park looks like they're 450 kids.
And the capacity?
Their capacity is 540.
Okay, so they're almost there.
Monroe Elementary. Madison. Oh, yes, let me talk about that real quick. Yeah, so in this budget cycle, what we have done is we didn't be able to say our time, but we're there. So let's celebrate our successes. Madison is going to be turned over to the city. Madison right now holds our alternative program for students. So that program will be put into what we are is now called Easton Preschool, which is a building that is not full of students right now. So Madison alternative program will go into Easton Preschool. Madison, the building, which was built in 1911, which is the second oldest school next to Moraine High School, will be turned over to the city. We are also turning Coronado over to the city, which is a building that we weren't sure if we were in it for like potential development purposes or whatnot, but we don't need it right now, and that will be turned over to the city. So those are two properties that will be turned over, and which is good, which is really, really good. But we need to.
Are they large enough that you could, on one of them, build one new school that would support 800 children for these two that you like?
Madison or Coronado?
I'm not familiar with
Oh,
that.
no. Madison is right on Hampton Boulevard.
Oh, okay.
You don't
It's right
want
by
any
over
school right
here.
there.
No, that's-
And Coronado, see, Coronado is in where Northern High School and Northern Elementary, Northern Middle is. And Northern Elementary could definitely sustain a brand new building for all the kids that are there. People would ask about,
Yeah.
what neighborhoods have a lot of kids? Northern Elementary has a lot of kids. They also have a lot of mobile units out there, which is not safe for kids. So that school area is very deserving of a brand new building. And we could probably kind of scoop up some of the other kids from other neighborhoods where we can close one of the other schools kind of in that surrounding area, maybe Chesterfield or something. But deep dive in that, this is stuff that directly affects you guys. So, I think it's important for you guys to think about it, talk to your neighbors about it, talk to, friends, teachers, what they think, but I think you could get a lot if we were to do something like that.
So where would be the closest school for the children for Ward's Corner and what is that?
Well, I think
Lots
one
more.
possibility is, like, what I was saying, that sweet spot of mixed income. I think that should be the biggest focus, is finding that sweet spot of mixed income where we're getting the best out of both worlds.
It just seems like this whole area would be void of elementary school.
I mean, Suburban Park is only like 3 blocks away.
Well, from here, but what about if you live, like a block or two from Hampton Boulevard?
So maybe you're referring to a large number, so.
Grammy's home from.
There are so
Yeah,
many
there's
elementary
a-
schools when you look at it, but it's not hard to just find the next person there.
We would be able to get a very nice brand new facility, probably at Suburban Park. We would be able to, or we would have to, do a pros and a cons. Get K-8 is an application only school, so it has no attendance zone. So it could theoretically get moved somewhere else and not have a transportation, parents wouldn't be upset because they're losing elementary. Exactly. Yeah. But, right.
Because I don't really remember the name of the school, but the one that they closed down on Creek Road, that was
That was, yeah, the alternative. Yeah, right by Starbucks, is that?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
gone, yeah,
Yeah.
that neighborhood's gone, so now it seems like there's different ways of neighborhood schools.
Claremore? Yes. Yeah, so, yeah. Claremore? In the back, all those fields? So Claremore has 13 acres. Now, Little Creek sits on, Little Creek has 2 properties. They have the small building and they have the big building. Little Creek, the acreage for Little Creek is,
It's way down though.
I was just wondering if you guys see that school over there.
Yeah.
They don't really utilize all that. Little Creek is 17 acres. Yeah. So, I have thoughts for that side, but for here, what would be the gain is you would get 34 acres for Granby High School, you would get an additional field, you would still get a brand new elementary school, because those funds would just be transferred over to Suburban or Willard, you pick, everybody would have a say-so into that. And the K-8 program would be a little bit more centrally located, we would get an additional track. We cannot fit a track. I haven't really thought about putting a track over here yet, but I'm sure we can look into it.
It's not a
It's a great area.
It's also years distance,
Yes. Right, but I know that with Maury right now, they have plans that if we were to take Dent offline, we could put a full-size track on that property. Which would be so awesome for the kids. So wonderful.
Dr. Gabriel, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I'd like to add a little bit to it. So, I was elected almost 8 years ago, 2 months after the current mayor was elected. Every single joint meeting we've had with the school board since that time, the mayor and I have asked, where is the school closing consolidation plan? And for 8 years, we've failed to receive the school closing consolidation plan. Dr. Gabriel has continued to champion that. For that, I appreciate your efforts. And hopefully this is going to get us where we need to be. You received, the school board received a presentation a year and a month ago, last March, from the same group, because it's been studied every year forever. And at that time, my recollection from reading that presentation was that they recommended closing between 11 and 14 schools. Out of 50 schools, closing 11 or 14 of those, that is extremely significant. What does that tell us? What does the data tell us? Number one, as you've already been told tonight, there's significantly less students in our schools. Number two is that the projections are that we will continue to have about 500 fewer students every single year in Norfolk's entire school system. And give it however many more years, every single year just keeps attracting almost 500 students every single year. And you see why that 11, 14 schools quickly becomes more schools over time. Because at this point, they don't project that that birth rate will change in our country. We don't get to change that, right? It's just a reality. Also in those numbers last year, at the last year's presentation, they said that if we would make this move and right-size the school system, we would save approximately $18 million per year. Okay, that's currently going to keep those extra schools open and paying those extra administrators. That $18 million would go a long way towards increasing teacher pay, getting more teachers, more bus drivers, everybody else to work in the school system, not to mention reappropriating the ones in the schools that are closing. So to those of us, to the mayor and I, this is a no-brainer. It should have been done years ago. And so thank you for trying to move this forward as fast as possible. And while we've been thinking about this kind of in a hyper-local situation, what happens to the schools for our neighborhood, think about this across the city. We're really going, it is going to be a heavy lift for the school system to say, how are we going to redraw the entire city? We don't need one of our high schools. We do need to close one of our high schools. We probably need to close one of our middle schools, and certainly 10 plus elementary schools across the city to right-size the school system to get us where we need to be. And I agree with Dr. Noelle's thoughts and ideas. We should use this opportunity to provide the amenities that high schools should have been provided or would be provided if we built them today. I agree with your thoughts on the Maury and Granby. We should try to provide them the athletic facilities that they never had, because we have this opportunity right now to right-size everything. So thank you for your leadership here, and I'll end with this civic league and everyone else in the city needs to make sure that this is something that we bring to the attention of future candidates for the school board. This is something we want to see. So if they're coming to talk to us and they're asking for our vote, we need to ask them where they stand on this kind of stuff, because it's extremely important. We need to ask them why, if they're already on the school board, why they haven't pushed for this in the past. Because I can tell you, I'm on TV, I can tell you the only person that I know of on the school board who's been pushing for this is Dr. Gabriel. Everyone else has been slow up. I don't know what the reasons are, I'm not going to suggest what the reasons are, but I'll just say we need to make this a priority.
So of the $450 million budget, what percentage of that is salaries? I know salaries are a big chunk of everybody's budget, regardless of the district. I know that. I just
So if we talked about reducing students, talking about increasing athletic facilities, but what I haven't heard is how we're going to build those things to support modern ethical programs, such as increasing CTE, science, biology labs. For instance, with Granby Elementary, because it backs up against the water, it'd be a great biology, marine science, which is something. So, as we go forward and rebuild these schools, let's not miss the academics.
So also in this budget is what we have going forward as the three technical high school. So what it is looking at is really piecing out Whitfield High School as the new, what the new concept would be for career technical education. Right now we have VOTEC, and
Yeah, it's career technical.
That means a whole sector on, mechanical, so automotive. We already have a very good relationship with the, airline mechanics. Entity that's on it for good. That's automotive, that's welding, that's electrical, and we have a whole sector on,
Certification.
all of these, we have a whole medical unit, which is nursing, pharmacy, dentistry. We have a cosmetic, cosmetology, barber. We have, a firefighter unit, we have a criminal detective, forensics program. We have a, that's one sector, we have early childhood education, program that's there. So, all the things that, our business partners need and their next best employee, that's what we want there.
So we need to be careful with that, because what you described, to me, is something that I went to high school for. I came out of high school, I didn't know tech, I went to college prep. But if you look at any automobile, any 80% of them is electronics.
Yes, and they don't do that.
And so, again, it's how you describe the curriculum in these vocational fields. And also, I heard nothing about the modern fields.
We have cybersecurity. We have, it's a lot, there's a lot. There is cybersecurity, there's.
But your point is well taken, and I think probably 6 or 7 years ago, I took some school board members, only a couple of them went, maybe one, to Virginia Beach. They have a huge ATC center that's part of Tyler Community College. They're teaching them how to teach robotics and all the things you're talking about. That's not VOTech. One kid got a degree in Cisco, engineering for routers and switches, and made $90,000 coming out of high school because he knew how to do the technology. It's not just, okay, it's cybersecurity that you and I can learn how to do. These are high-tech jobs that they partner with certain people, and I don't think it ever went anywhere. I think it's a great program, and they go after school and they bring them to different places. And by the way, they can also take classes from Tyler Community College while they're in high school, so when they go to college, they've got some college credits because it's all there together as a partnership. And, I recommended that, some of the people from Portsmouth went to that meeting too. I don't know what came of it, doesn't matter, but to your point, those are the things you're talking about, the engineering, the sciences, the things that.
Yeah, I mean, what are the needs
All right.
10 years ago?
Absolutely.
You got this new space economy. You got the Marines, not Marines, but the Marine life, where, you got the sciences.
Well, anyway, we probably need to move on to next week. Mike, go.
I think Mike, what's our, any questions for,
So, yeah, the Board of Education, from the state is, has adopted a new accreditation system that they're basically going to be grading schools, A, B, C, F, which is really difficult, and, that's going to be coming out, not this school year, but next school year. I'll just say more to come on that. It's not gonna look real good for us.
Well, it's a different impact on socioeconomic schools who tend to struggle with accreditation, and then we'll lose funding in early working schools that need the most support that will receive the least amount of support. When we do the support at home, there is the quality of the teachers, so, yeah.
so I think we can at least prime our state delegates, state reps.
So Martin, I have a thing I want to bring up about code compliance.
I've been reading, you know,
I think
like,
you said about what?
code compliance.
Okay.
I've been reading people's complaints about parking RVs and trucks and things in driveways or city streets and all that. Have you driven down Little Creek Road, West Little Creek Road, from about the 200-meter block down to about the Dillon? The grass is 4 feet tall. The lawns are fine, but they're not taken care of between the sidewalk and the curb. And it's looking really bad.
When you see it, certainly you can report that.
Yeah, but it's not,
along the
it's
line
the
over that.
block, it's every house, I can't go through it. And,
Yeah.
The guy,
well, first
here's
of all,
him
the
doing
speed
codes
is
right
too
now.
fast for me to,
He's on it.
I
Yeah.
can't.
The other thing is when you see that, certainly send me an email and I can forward it to the inspector and have them out there.
Yeah, just the whole street for about 6 blocks, and just about every house.
I will report that tomorrow.
I don't know either.
I don't know if
I've
you're allowed
never
questions.
seen it that way.
From Jeff. But no, the reason that the comment that I have to make is, my wife had called to complain about some things in the driveway, and the reply from the city, we don't have enough people right now, so we don't care. They didn't say we don't care, they said, there's nothing we can do about it for now, they can put the boats and the RVs in the driveway where they're probably not supposed to have them. And they said the city was supposed to vote, to talk about that, but they said, they basically told her, sorry, we're not gonna come out to your neighborhood and look at this, we're just not. We don't have the time, the energy, and sorry for your luck. They were very polite about it, they didn't say it like I did, but they were very polite, but to her point, maybe,
Yeah, I
Quite the
drive,
opposite of what's actually been happening across the city, which is very surprising.
wow, that is a
The,
lot.
the code compliance people have been all over people that parking boats in their houses.
Wow.
Actually, that's
Well,
100% the opposite.
I'll call again tomorrow, if it's any different, I'll let you
Very
know.
surprising. Yeah.
I'm glad you said it, thanks.
yeah, I drive a lot of the streets in the city, because I love yard sales and things like that. I've not seen any places as bad as Western Creek Road. I mean, a little spot here and a little spot there, but this is the hard, yeah. Yeah.
We're past,
So it probably is
There's
not
some
progressive,
dresses
but
this tall. Yeah.
there's some eat back.
On the south side of Western Creek Road.
No, I feel like that.
Yeah, I thought, well, surely, somebody's gonna contemplate people when they're looking at driveways, they don't do that. Yeah, but there's too many houses.
All right, so our next meeting will be May 20th. We will have Tony class, experience here, questions about state level, and then there won't be a meeting in June. That's when we'll have our ice cream social on Monday, June 17th at the US playground. So please go on that. For your neighbors, you can tell them what you always want. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I'm just subbing it over. Exactly what I